Okay, I think we're ready to go. This is probably the best we're going to get in terms of lighting situation, but as typical, when I want it to be quite summery and spring-like in a webisode, I come to the weekend, which is the only time of the week, I was about to say the day, the only time of the week that I can actually create content, and it is gloomy all day, cloudy, overcast. It's not getting above 9 degrees today, and yeah, we're not fighting it anymore, guys. We're getting cozy, we're in an oversized jumper, we're gonna get comfy on the sofa, although I feel like my back support is about to go because of the angle I am at, but we are gonna chill out, settle down on the sofa, and we're just gonna talk personal finance. Are we ready, guys? So, I usually say, oh, I don't know if it's going to be a long one or not. I'm going to anticipate this is going to be a long video. So the last one was about 30 to 40 minutes. And usually when I say like, oh, I think this will be a short and sweet video, it's never. So get yourself comfy, grab yourself a drink, get yourself settled, ready to go. We are just going to be talking. So no B-roll, no fast motion stuff, I've forgotten the word for it, you know what I mean. But we're just gonna sit and kind of have an honest conversation about personal finances. I got some really good response to my previous one, both privately and in comments, and a lot of, you know, kind of positive comments on my Instagram following a lot of kind of personal finance stories that I've been doing and being a bit more honest and open about there. So I figured it'd be a good time to do another one. I've got a list of everything I want to cover off in terms of this video, some kind of things to chat about, reveal, recommendations, and etc, etc. So first off though, drink. I have a coffee on the go here, and I also have a green smoothie just to make sure I have a breakfast today. So I'm kind of ready to go. So if you guys don't know me, hi, my name is Elle. I'm an interiors and lifestyle YouTuber, content creator, etc, etc, who just loves personal finance and is completely open to talking about it, although not everything, but we're getting there with stuff. But I just love chatting personal finance, particularly to women, and I'm all about just encouraging women to take ownership of their money and, yeah, do what they want to do with it. So in this video, it's kind of like a follow-up to the previous one I did. I may create a playlist for these so that you kind of can watch the journey as such as we go along. But definitely this one is going to kind of follow on from the last video where I kind of, and this is actually following on from my 2024 goals I talked about, so I'll link that down below, where you kind of talk about where I kind of reveal sort of my money goals for the year and stuff, because this is very much like what I'm doing is making sure that we can hit those goals. But the themes for today is just, we're going to talk about one of the 2024 goals, which was my wealth goal that I set myself. So why I'm on the wealth journey, why I'm doing this, like what's the motivation behind it. We're going to talk about financial anxiety because we had a recent, literally yesterday, experience with it, and I think it's really good to talk about financial anxiety. It's something we don't talk about enough. Then we're going to talk about the smug fund situation. We've got some happy news there, so I'm really excited to kind of share those with you and some numbers. I'm going to talk about what I did with my bonus. So the last kind of video I talked about that I was very privileged in my job, that not only did I get a pay rise, I also got a bonus, and I kind of explained what I was going to do with it. I'm going to reveal actually what I did with it. We're also going to talk about sort of my current net worth, so we're going to give you some numbers, we're going to give you some percentages along that goal, and also kind of what my spending breakdown is so far, go into a bit more detail about that. Also going to talk about plans for the future, and by that I mean the immediate future, so what the next couple of months is looking like in terms of my spending and what I want to do with it. And then some financial tools I recommend. There's only 3 of them, but I think they're really good ones I'd like to share with you guys. Just if you are wanting to go on a personal finance journey, I really recommend these things for you and how they're going to help you achieve those goals. So I'm going to readjust my back because I can already feel the pain coming in. So get comfy and we'll get started. Okay, change the angle a little bit. Hopefully we won't have too much blurriness with 2 windows behind me, but this is the best view in the house. So let's talk about my wealth goal and really why I set myself a wealth goal. So as a bit of a recap, in case you don't want to go back to those 2 videos that I was talking about in the intro, I set myself a wealth goal in getting a net worth this year, but also in particular just living a wealthy life. Now wealthy life doesn't mean we're carrying around Birkins and driving the most expensive car, etc, etc. Wealth is whatever it means to you. And to me, it really means financial security. What I've realized since the beginning of this year is when I've been really thinking about what a wealthy life looks like to me, it's financial security. It's having, you know, systems in place where I feel comfortable. And yes, it also includes nice stuff and it, you know, where necessary. But this girl is never going to be buying a Birkin bag entire life. I respect Hermes and I love the Birkin bag, but that's not me. That is not something I'm ever going to want or will spend my money on, if that makes sense. Same thing for a car. I don't think I'm ever going to be the Land Rover, Range Rover, you know what I mean, that car. I'm never going to be that girl that is driving that car, but I would love one day to be able to buy a brand new car from scratch, even though that is not a financially, like, not good, but you know what I mean. It's, listen, you can go, I'll link down below this a creator that I follow on YouTube. I think she's great for talking personal finance, but she was breaking down sort of like, is it worth it in terms of the money to buy a brand new car or lease a new car or buy an old car? And it was a really, really interesting video, so I'm going to link it down below for you. But essentially the kind of breakdown is obviously when you buy a brand new car, it loses value almost straight away, and I wouldn't necessarily be buying a car to invest in a car, if that makes sense. I would just love the feeling of having enough money to buy myself and be the first owner of a car that I just drive until it falls apart. And that's kind of where I am with my wealth situation. It's financial security, treating myself to the things I want without having to feel like I'm keeping up with the Joneses. And I will say I'm in a privileged position in my life where, and I think this comes with age, particularly in your, you know, early 30s. I am 33. I think I've just got to the point where I do not care anymore. And the older I've got, and I've noticed this ever since I've turned 30, year on year, I do not care anymore. I just do not care what people think. And it's the same with stuff like online, like the pressure to dress a certain way, have a certain label, to follow the trend. I just don't care anymore. I really don't care what anyone else is doing. I'm happy for them. I support them on their journey if that's what they truly want to do. But if they're doing it because everyone else is doing it, I just don't care, if that makes sense. But going back to the net worth goal. So I set myself that by the time I am 35, which is just under 2 years, I want to have a net worth of 100k, which is a huge goal. And this was going to be broken down into somewhat some areas in terms of what I had in terms of savings, but also sort of net worth value, and if like, because we do want to buy a house very, very soon, sort of the value that I own in that house. But the majority of this was obviously going to be made up in terms of what I had in stocks and shares and pensions and stuff. But I wanted to feel, by the time I got to my halfway point of my 30s, that I was having a net worth, or I could say I have a net worth of 100k. As such. With that, I would love it if I could end this year with a net worth of 50k, and I will get into the percentages later on in this video, but there's some good news in that situation. And again, it kind of just goes all back to just financial security. I've never really felt that, particularly when I entered adult life, I've ever felt financially secure. And it is strange to be in a position of, I'm earning the most money I've ever earned, I'm at the top of my career, everything's good, and yet I still don't feel financially secure, even though I am much better off than I have been in the past. And without going into too much detail, though, if you do want a full video on it, I will happily talk about my debt story. But there has been a point in my debt where I was at rock bottom. It felt like I was drowning. People who have been in debt will know that feeling of just, you cannot grasp the air. And I've been in that situation, and I never want to go back there again. And because of that fear, I think this is where this kind of financial anxiety comes from, which, let's go into that and talk about financial anxiety. So financial anxiety, I love that we're in a modern age right now where we are talking more and more about mental health and anxiety in a general sense. I think it's great that we're able to just say, I'm not okay, and everyone is 100% accepting of that. We've come leaps and bounds since, you know, even the 90s, where it really just generally was not talked about. But one area I do think we can talk more about is financial anxiety. I do not think we talk about it enough because money is such a dirty topic. I can't remember the exact study. If I can find it, I will link it down below. But I do believe there was a percentage of people who would rather talk about their sex life than they would talk about money. And that's interesting to me, that we would talk about everything else that's intimate about us before we would even discuss like how much we earn, how much money we have, what we're doing with our money. And I'm hoping to fight that by talking about money as openly as possible. But with that comes up, and kind of going back to what I was talking about in terms of feeling financially secure, I have financial anxiety, and I know it's not a healthy anxiety to have. I always feel like a little bit of kind of caution is good, but this is a level that really messes with my brain and really messes with my mood. And I'm going to give the example that I literally had yesterday. So I'm filming this the day after I had my car MOT, which if you follow me on Instagram, you will know kind of the results of that, and I talked a bit more about it on my stories. But essentially, I was bricking myself coming up to my MOT. And I'm pretty sure an MOT is the same thing that everyone has around the world. If not, do let me know in the comments below. But in the UK, when you own a car, I believe it's after 3 or 5 years from when it was manufactured, you have to have an MOT every day in order for it to be roadworthy. You have to go, you have to get it tested, and it gets a pass or a fail. Now, I've never really had Margot pass, if this makes sense. She has passed, she's had fails, but usually her passes come with, but get this sorted because this is bad. And the majority of the time that I've owned my car, a little Citroen C1 for those interested, Margot has had some fails. In fact, my first MOT, she was a serious fail, which meant I couldn't even drive her off from the garage. She was failed that badly, it needed immediate fixing, she was not roadworthy. And my MOT pretty much has always been expensive. Like, it's never just been the MOT, it has been expensive. And because of my situation financially, I always came to January, and this is the most annoying thing about when I got my car and when its MOT is due. The MOT is due in March, and then a month later my insurance is due. And it always was just get through December and when we'll start saving, and then that's when I would throw so much money into the account and feel like I couldn't have any money for anything else, and something else would happen, and then that's when we'd have to use the car, etc., credit card. And then you can see where the cycle of debt comes into these things. And I'm not gonna lie, I was bricking it. I didn't feel like I had enough in my sinking fund, even though I'd put money away. I didn't feel like I had enough. She was going to fail, and then I had to get my insurance, and I'd already got a quote for my insurance, and if it was more than this, then I wasn't going to have enough for that, and then that was going to put me behind on this. And when I say this consumed me for about 2 weeks, like, it consumed my thoughts. It didn't help as well that with my work, because I use my car for work purposes, I have to fill out this system online with all my stuff. I was getting almost daily reminders about you need to enter your MOT information, and I was like, Margaret, that's not the name, but I was calling that like an old lady. I was like, Margaret, calm down, I will get this information to you, but I do not need a daily reminder that my MOT is coming up. Go away, just go away. And yeah, it was hard. And literally yesterday I dropped her off at 8:30, the garage opened, I dropped her off, I said my prayers, I prayed to the gods and the goddesses. I also prayed to all the women because it was International Women's Day when this happened. I was just like, please women, use your collective force to make sure this is okay. So I go back, start work at 9, you know, I'm up in the home office, I'm doing my thing. I get a call through at like 9:45. I'm like, oh my God, if they're calling me this early, it must be bad because they've got to get it sorted straight away or something like that. They've got to order a part or something. When I tell you my heart like left my body, and I was just like, oh my God. Like, that's the dread I was feeling. So I answered the phone and I was like, hello? And he was like, hi, it's Thingy at the garage. And I was like, oh yeah. And he was like, yes, so she's ready to pick up. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she was like, yeah, she's ready to pick up. She's all good to go. And I was like, she passed? And he was like, yeah, she passed. And I was like, you sure? And he was like, yes. And I was like, sorry, we're talking about the Citroen C1, aren't we? That you've had in the MOT. And he was like, yeah, we're talking about the Citroen C1. And I was like, when I say like, I was like, no, I'm talking about the dark blue Citroen C1. And he was like, it's the only Citroen C1 here, it's passed. And I was like, are you sure? And the guy at this point was like laughing on the phone. And he literally turned around to me and was like, I'm good at my job. Like, yes, it's passed. And I was like, oh, like, okay. It was like, yeah, so she's ready to collect whenever you need it. I was like, all right, well, I've got to do some work and just finish this off, so I'll be back in an hour. When I tell you I welled up with happiness, like, I had actual tears in my eyes that she had passed. I couldn't believe that she had just gone and she was fine. Like, I couldn't believe it. And this also goes back to sort of just being taken advantage of as a woman, because the last MOT I had, I go to the same garage in my village, but the last time I didn't book in time and they were completely booked up, so I had to go somewhere else. And the garage I went to, she'd failed for numerous reasons and stuff, but they weren't serious fails. But they had told me about this problem with like my clutch, and they were like, you need to come back to us, it's going to like, you know, it's dangerous if this happens and stuff. I'd asked at the time how much this was cost. They quoted me $1,200 to get this fixed, and I was like, I don't have that money, like what am I gonna do, like oh my god. And I'm not gonna lie, I've pretty much just pretended that it doesn't exist and just prayed that she's fine. And it was interesting because when I got there I was like, is there any recommendations or minors or anything? He was like, there's no minors, like she's gone through absolutely fine. He was like, the only recommendation I would make is your brake pads are a little thin, you've got a good 2,000-3,000 miles out of it, so just come back when that hits your clock, which is fine. I've got a reminder in my phone. And I remember going to him and saying like, but what about this clutch problem? Like I got told at my last MOT this was like gonna happen, but they did say like it could happen immediately and it's been a year. And he was like, oh yeah, like it's high, but like it's fine. He was like, trust me, you'll know when you need a new clutch. And I was like, okay, when will that happen? He was like, honestly, it could happen in 2 weeks, it could happen in 2 years. He was like, I really wouldn't worry about it. And I was like, okay, but if it did happen, how much is it gonna be? He quoted me 500, which is almost like more than, like less than half of what that other place was telling me I needed to pay immediately. And he did say, yeah, it sounds like you were getting taken advantage of there, like it's not that big of a deal at all. And when I got back from getting Margot in, I went onto my spreadsheet because the MOT cost 50 quid. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy, like it'd never been that cheap before. And I went and looked at my smug fund. I had more money in my smug fund than I actually thought I had, so even if she had any major work done, it actually wouldn't have been that bad compared to my insurance and stuff. And I guess this long rambling story is just the kind of like, it is okay to feel financial anxiety, and I feel a bit better now that that is out of the way. I know that I'm going to hit my like insurance quote, and I've got steps in place. I now look at like my finances and know the steps I've got in place. I'm going to be okay. Is my financial anxiety going to go away completely? Absolutely not. I feel like I'm going to always have it, but it can be dulled down and I can feel secure. And ultimately at the end of the day, I just need to tell myself I am okay. I am okay. Like, we are good, we are safe, we're secure. We don't need to be in flight or fight mode when it comes to our finances. And I guess my advice to anyone feeling financial anxiety is just keep you telling yourself that. But I also want to just kind of reflect on the fact that like, it's okay me saying that where I am now, but if I had said that to Elle 5 or 6 years ago, even 4 years ago, I wouldn't have listened. I wouldn't have been like, you have no idea how I'm feeling right now. So what I would say is, if anyone is feeling that kind of deep drowning feeling of financial anxiety, do talk to someone, like, and talk to someone you trust. Talk to someone that isn't going to judge you for where you are. If that happens to be me, come hit me up in my DMs on Instagram. I'm happy to talk privately to you if that helps to reassure you, because I have been there and I wish I had that person that was in my corner. Just not even providing like a solution to a problem, just like being there to be like, it's gonna be okay, I hear you. I hear you, I see you, I understand what you're going through. Find that person in your life, find that stranger in your life, but just know that like, it is okay to talk about financial anxiety, and we should talk about it more. Like, we really should talk about it, because money involves every aspect of our life, and we should be more open about money. Okay, so let's talk about smug funds situation now that I've mentioned it. So I have what I call smug funds, which is separate from my, I'm just getting the tracker up now. I have a lovely spreadsheet that has all this information in. So I have smug funds, which are part of my short-term saving goal. Essentially, the reason what I think they're called sinking funds realistically in the financial world. I call them smug funds because I want to have that feeling of, if something came up, like this time next year when Ellenor's going back into her MOT and she needs to pay some money, she's just like smug because the money is there, everything's good, I don't have to worry about anything. That's the feeling I want to feel, so that's why I call them my smug funds. I have four goals, but one of them is like literally short term, like immediately short term. So my short term smug funds are dash savings, car savings, Taylor Swift Eras Tour savings, and also celebration savings. as I mentioned, these are separate from my emergency fund. So your emergency fund is like between 3 to 6 months or however much money you want to save of your salary, a monthly salary, just so that if anything happened, you have that money in place to go. I don't have anything at the moment, but I'm working my way up to getting a month. If I can get a month in, I feel really, really financially secure with everything. And the reason why I'm sacrificing building up more of an emergency fund is because I really do want to buy a house this year. I also have other things in place that will keep us secure if anything happened in terms of our job. But with the emergency fund, that's really baked beans on toast. That's like, if just to survive, there's no money left over, or maybe there's a little bit of money, but it's like we're not putting serious savings away with like what we're saving up for in terms of emergency fund, which is why I want the kind of big things that would cost money put away. So the good news is, I would say 3 out of 4 of them are completely like done and dusted. So that was cringe, sorry guys. But 3 out of 4 of them are always complete. So, and I say that loosely. So we've got one that is definitely complete, which is Dash's smug fund. So Dash is my border collie puppy or dog. Well, he's going to be a dog in this October when he turns 3, but he's still a puppy to me. He has a smug fund of £400. So this is enough money to cover the excess that I would have to pay if I needed to make a claim on him. So he has insurance, but I have to pay the excess. So this would cover him if he ever broke a leg or needed like emergency surgery or anything like that where it's like a big cost. We would use the insurance and I'd just use whatever is in his smug fund to cover the excess in terms of that. Plus money left over for a vet visit if we ever had to, that maybe it was like below what we needed to do in terms of excess, medicine, all that type of stuff. The rest of his stuff is covered under the daily budget, the monthly budget, sorry. So that is all good to go. That is earning interest because it's in an account with 4.1% interest, which is great. So she's sat there, she's doing a thing, she's looking pretty. We don't have to touch her, touch wood as well, we don't have to touch her for a while. The next one being car savings. So this one's an interesting one because I don't really have as such a financial goal for this one, but I'm in a place, and I'll talk about this a bit later, where we'll be able to put regular money into it without it being like a massive like investment into it. So previously that smug fund had £600 in it. I took about 50 quid for the MOT. That leaves me with 500, well, just over £550, because again, that's sat in an account with 4.1% interest, just churning out interest, which should be more than enough for my car insurance. So it will take it pretty low come next month, but I have, like I said, a system in place to refill that up, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Taylor Swift is pretty much done. That is sort of the one short-term goal that isn't going to have any lasting effects. I have to put 20 quid away. That's all I have to do, is put 20 quid away, and I would do it this month, but I'm just doing it to next month. Again, she's sat in an account earning interest, so she's doing a thing, so it may be less money we have to put away next month, but she's good to go in June, so I'm very excited for that. And then the only one that isn't filled is Celebration Fund, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna kick myself a little bit because I've just been invited to a work colleague's birthday towards the end of this month, and I'm like, oh, I didn't budget for that, so what am I gonna do? Like, I need to get something there. So though that one and the car are ones that in the future, so let me go to my dream saving tracker, which basically is where I kind of budget out literally in the next 12 months of what I'm going to do with like my excess money in terms of fund and what money I'm going to put where, and if I stick to this goal, what the money is going to look like at the end of it. So for this, we're really looking at like moving forward. This is probably from the month of June. So there is money going in May. There's nothing going in April for a reason. I'll talk later. But pretty much from June onwards, what I'm looking to do is put £100 into each of these smug funds as like just direct money that goes into there. That being said, that should give me more than enough money by the time we come to this time next year for the car. And obviously if we're putting in like 100 quid into savings, if I never touch it, if we didn't have another celebration like for the rest of the year, that would give me 1,200 in that account plus interest, and all these accounts are 4.1% interest, so they're very high at the moment. If you look at any other savings account, interest on savings is not great. So these are really nice high interest accounts accumulating. I think that much will keep me ticking over really nicely. I don't think my car insurance is going to be more than 400, let's say. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how much it will be. I kind of got like a quote, but it wasn't for the date that I need to update my insurance on, because I can only do it 30 days out, so I need to do it a bit nearer the time and see what it is, but I'm pretty sure we'll be okay. I mean, if it's over that, then I'm doing something wrong, because I have like a 5+ years no claim bonus, and it should be going down. If I've not claimed, it should be going down, but I don't know what is happening at the moment. Every time I get like an insurance, it's always astronomical, and I don't know why. And then I have to phone up and I have to argue. I guess it's because if they don't have people like me that literally call up and argue for it down, like, they can kind of get away with just doing the quote. But I'm not gonna lie, it's effort, and it makes me not want to be with that company if they do it again. So fingers crossed, we should be fine, but we shall see. But yeah, I feel really confident in those two areas that everything is looking good. All the sync funds are looking great, so I'm feeling very smug. I'm not gonna lie, that those are good to go. I've got money elsewhere if I needed to, like in case of emergency. But in terms of those short-term saving goals and just having smug funds, I feel very, very blessed and very privileged and very happy that they are all done and dusted. Okay, so getting on to the juicy topic. What did I do with my bonus? What did I do with my bonus? So I don't actually think I ever really confirmed how much I got in terms of a bonus, because I think I just told I had a bonus. That was it. I filmed the video before I knew how much I was getting, because they really much didn't tell us anything until literally a week before payday, when it was getting paid in what we were all getting. And I sort of just said, like, I had some ideas with what I was going to do with it. One of the ideas being that I was going to invest in a Dyson Airwrap, because it's something that I wanted for a while, and treat myself with the money, but I didn't know what I was going to do with the other amount. And it kind of depended if it was like what proportion it was in terms of it. So I'm going to put my big girl pants on and reveal the number to you guys, and please, please don't see me as bragging when I say this. This is very much me just being open and honest and having an open and honest conversation about money. I recognise the huge privilege that I have in this cost of living crisis, that I was even able to get a bonus this year. So this is not me bragging, this is just me being really honest with you guys, and being open and allowing an open, honest conversation when it comes to money. So that being said, my bonus this year was about 1,500, and I can't tell you what a shock that was when I saw that and was like, oh, hello beautiful. And yeah, I was just super like not expecting it. I'd never had a bonus in my life. Let's just say I have never had a job where I have had a bonus, so this was my first ever one, and I was like, this is interesting, free money for doing my job. But again, I couldn't tell you, like, just feeling so honored and privileged that I'm in a space in my career that I've been able to do that. So that being said, I spent a good evening. Like, my husband had to pry my laptop away from me. It was like, just go away and think about it, because I really was not sure what I was going to do with the money. Ultimately, if you can't tell by my hair, I was quite sensible with it. That's not to say that buying a Dyson Airwrap, if you have the money, is not a sensible option. Like, I would not have judged myself if I did get myself a Dyson Airwrap. But realistically, I was like, I just don't want to spend that money on it. I really, really can't be bothered to spend 500 or whatever it costs to get a Dyson Airwrap and then be super disappointed if it actually didn't work with my hair. I actually have invested in a different tool that's like cost 50 quid, just to see if I can get the look that I want, and just see if that works. And that feels much more of a sensible investment into playing around with my hair than going with the Dyson Airwrap. It doesn't mean it's never off the table, the Dyson Airwrap. Maybe one day it is, but it's just not right now. I really didn't want to do that. So saying that, what did I actually do with the money? So obviously I didn't get the full 1,500 because taxes, you know, and my taxes were high that pay, because obviously I had my actual salary plus that. But with the money, what I got left over from what I usually would have got in terms of a kind of a salary, I decided to fill up some of the smug funds. So Dash's smug fund was filled up with that bonus, as well as just chucking extra money at Taylor Swift, because I was like, the quicker I can just have that kind of done and dusted, the more I feel calm and great about it. But the huge chunk of it, and this was probably about 1,000 of it went towards paying off my credit card. So I'm happy to reveal at this point in time we have paid one credit card off, which is my other half, my husband's credit card. So claps for us in terms of doing that. When I spoke that last time, we were getting there, like it would be paid. It's all done and dusted. We've just got one more debt to go, and it made sense. Let me pull it up on my tracker, like kind of what it was. But yeah, it just made sense because when I worked it out, at one point I was kind of paying around a credit card, because if I put over like 1,000 to it, if that makes sense, it was only going to reduce sort of like the repayment of the credit card by 1 month. But by doing that plus extra money, which is what I ended up doing, it took it down to an additional 2 months. So at the current rate we are going, I should have the credit card paid off by the end of May. And I will be debt free in time for Taylor Swift, which will be an incredible, incredible feeling to do so. I'm umming and ahhing if that's even going to be possible, just due to a few things, but I'm still positive. I'm optimistic that that still is an option, and I feel more motivated now that I've chucked a mass amount of money at that situation in order to do that. And actually saying that, when I and ah about whether or not I will get it paid off, the reason why I was and ahhing was because I'm about to do a room renovation that would require me to spend on the credit card and then pay it off slowly that way, which is not great. I know, like, you know, we should not be doing that if we can't think, but there's logic behind it. But because we haven't actually spent that much money on my MOT, the actual chunk of money I was going to put away this month towards car savings, I've actually moved into home renovation pot, which actually means that we shouldn't have to spend anything on the credit card for this room renovation makeover. So there you go, there you go. And I'll touch on it very, very quickly as to why I was going to use credit card for the room renovation makeover. It's to just create content and keep up with the schedule and keep you guys interested. I may be speaking very generally here, and I'm sure there are content creators that will disagree that this is the situation, but I'm pretty sure most people who are content creators in home renovation are in debt and somehow, because there's no way they can churn out the room makeovers they do without either having a serious influx of cash from somewhere or borrowing it. And that is just my honest opinion on the situation. So if you ever sit there and wonder, how does somebody get like a room renovation done in a weekend, and where do they find the funds to do that? It's probably a credit card or a loan. I'm not gonna lie. Prove me wrong out there if there is someone that's doing that way, but unless you are flush or have a partner that is bringing in some serious cash, I don't think you're doing it just off the money itself, if that makes sense. So that's my 2 cents. That's probably gonna rile some people up, but that is my honest 2 cents in regards to it. So yeah, end of May, we are still on track to pay off this credit card and really flush it out and whatnot, which is great. And I feel good with what I've done with my bonus. I feel very much more confident. I feel very much like, okay, we're in good standing. This is great. It also means that if I'm lucky that this time next year I get another bonus, who knows, but if I do get another bonus and it is of a similar amount and we've bought a house, I'm like, well, mama is going to buy some serious stuff for the home. Well, I'm really going to go for it if I get something similar. But yeah, I feel really confident with what I did with my bonus. Do I wish I could have treated myself? Well, do you know what? I did treat myself. I got myself a couple of new items of clothing. I got that hair thing. I treated myself in my own way, and I'm happy with what I did with the money. So I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. Okay, so let's talk about net worth. Probably the juicy part of the video for anybody who has stuck around this long to learn about. So in terms of net worth, the goal is 50,000 by the end of this year. And I have caveat that I don't think that I will 100% get that goal, just because of, you know, logic. Basically, from what I've calculated on my dream savings tracker, the amount of money that I can actually physically put away by the end of December will not allow me to hit that goal. But obviously this goal is dependent on, you know, interest, compound interest, etc., building up. And also I will say, because I got a pay rise, that's increased how much I'm putting away. So I've talked about this in terms of pension contributions. I I put away 5% of my income a month into pensions, and my employer matches it, but also doubles it. So, and they also add on like a half a percentage. So essentially they put away 10.5% of my income for me, which means in total every month I'm saving 15.5% towards my pension. So that has made me a bit more positive that we are going to hit that, not get closer to that goal. I still don't think it is 100% possible to hit that goal, but as I spoke about in my last video, if I was able to put away like 40 grand by the end of this year and hit a 90% goal target, that's still a whole lot of money. That is a whole lot of money to be proud of. So I think if I can get over that 40 mark, I will feel absolutely like I'm on fire, even if I haven't necessarily hit that 50k goal. I will be happy with that. Currently, my total net worth stands at, drum roll please, £29,078.08. The pence is very important, which is a total savings of 58%. So I think I spoke about, actually only just at the beginning of this month, that it was at like 56 or something like that. So it's jumped up by 2%, which no, it wouldn't be, because we've just started the month. Well, no, actually, yeah. So it's jumped up quite a bit recently. So it's still good. It's still very positive. Like, this is, you know, yay to us. So realistically, the amount of money I have left to save is £20,921.92 for those who can't do the maths that quickly. So there's still a lot to go, but we are over halfway. We're almost at 60%, which is incredible. And I feel massively confident about where I stand with that. And again, to kind of break that down, that is, we're talking pensions, we are talking smug funds, but we're also talking what we're putting away for a house deposit, which ultimately will open up how much equity we own in a house, if that makes sense. So we are in good standing with that net worth. And I'm feeling very, very positive about what the future looks like in terms of achieving that goal. What I also want to talk about, now that we're in the kind of final month of the first quarter of the year, is the spending pattern I have so far. So I break everything into expenses, spending and savings. Expenses being utilities, rent, bills, grocery shopping, car, like driving, parking, stuff like that, dash, and other stuff that just falls in the general life category, which if I was ever to not have a job anymore, the emergency fund would fund all of that in a sense. So that would all be taken care of in the case of an emergency. Savings would be obviously everything that I'm putting away in savings. Also, I want to say that expenses wise, that also includes debt payoff, because that is an actual, currently that is an expense we have to take into consideration until we are debt free. As I said, savings is just everything that I'm putting away into short and long form savings, whether it be additional money to my pension outside of what I contribute within my paycheck, short term savings, house first, I can't speak, sorry, first time house savings situation for the deposit and stuff like that. And then spending is everything else. So that's things like clothes, that's eating out, takeaway coffee, beauty stuff. I'm trying to think of what else there is. Subscriptions, because, and I've talked about this a little bit, I think maybe more on my stories than here, but I put subscriptions, which is things like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hey You for Desperate Housewives and whatnot, and all the reality TV, etc. That all comes under spending, because although they are seen as necessities in our house because we don't watch normal TV, like, we just don't. Worst came to, push come to shove, sorry, not worst came to what, but push come to shove, if we were in a financial situation where something had to give, they would be one of the first things we had to give. So they are, to me, more spending than they are a necessity that needs to go into expenses. That's my personal feeling on it. I kind of talked about how I didn't really have like strict set rules of like the 50-30-20 rule that people talk about, which is 50% expenses, 30% spending and 20% savings. I kind of float around because I feel like we live in a place, like a city that is just quite expensive to live in personally. So I've always said if my expenses are between 60 to 70%, I feel happy that like we haven't kind of gone overboard in that sense of stuff, which leaves what I want to do in terms of savings being 20 to 30%, and then looking at 10 to 20% for spending for the year. At the moment for the quarter, I know, by the way, those percentages did not add up. Any mathematician sat there going, that's not right. That was the only GCSE I got a B in, so forgive me, I'm not great at maths. But in terms of where we are for the first quarter, and we're not at the end, I know when this video comes out it will be towards the end of it, but we're still very much at the beginning of March. We're looking at 68.5% of our earnings, mine and my husband's earnings, going towards expenses, 20.4% going towards savings, and 11.1% going towards spending, which I think is really, really decent amount. I'm taking the fact that is such a low spending due to the fact that in January I did a no spend January challenge, which allowed me not to spend any money at all unless I was replacing vital things like shoes or something like that, you know, I kind of mentioned that if my black knee-high boots, which I only have one pair of, broke and I needed to replace them urgently, then I could do that. So that challenge, and I will link that down below because I kind of revealed more into my no spend January challenge of like what the results were, and also on the blog post. I managed to put a good chunk of money away and also really didn't spend anything. I think my spending was like 9%, if that, and that felt incredible. And then savings wise, that's looking really good for the goal, and that's obviously going to increase, I think, towards the end of the second quarter of this year. Currently for March, we're looking at 78.8% of spending on expenses, 7.5% on savings, and 13.7% on spending. But bearing in mind, this is taken in consideration all the money is spent. I still have available cash. I haven't necessarily had anything else go out in terms of like other stuff. Like I haven't put any money away to savings because I'm waiting for payday. My payday is on the 15th for some bizarre reason, so I'm waiting for that before I can start chucking a bit more money into savings and whatnot. But I think that's fine, because when I look at the overall for the whole year, there will be more months where it's more expensive spending wise than it is necessarily saving wise. But this kind of leads me into conversation in regards to what I'm looking at in terms of future spending. So for the second quarter of the year, that will cover April, May and June. Obviously June is going to be an expensive month just in terms of Eras Tour. We're travelling up to Edinburgh. Shout out down below if you're going to be in Edinburgh for T-Swifty that time. So I have said that I'm going to look at May being a no spend challenge month, just to get myself in a really nice position of feeling comfortable with everything. Obviously I said that probably be the last month that I pay everything off, so it would be really nice to do a bit of a no spend challenge in that sense, just to kind of refresh myself, get myself back on track. And I think in terms of these challenges, I definitely think I want to do one in the third quarter. So I'm thinking maybe in August time, because there's not much going on in August for us. I think that'd be a good time to do one of those ready for September. I'm not sure I'll get another one in the kind of final quarter of the year, just because that's like birthday month for me, Christmas, all that stuff, so there's a lot going on there. But I think if I can fit in one in May and one in August, that will really spur on my net worth goals and just really help kind of feel more settled and kind of safe with where I am with my money and whatnot. April, as I mentioned, there's insurance going out, which is already somewhat saved for. It's my anniversary with my husband, and there's a lot of stuff happening in terms of, obviously we've got Easter and stuff like that, but I also have a lot of friends doing things and wanting to hang out that month. I also have a week off because I'm just using up some of my annual leave, so I've got 11 days for the price of 4 off in April. And me and my other half said we'll go on like a little day trip together, because we'll both be off midweek where the dog walker can take Dash, so we don't have to worry about that, so we can go and travel for a little bit. So we think we might go to Yorkshire Moors and spend the day in one of a village that we want to kind of get to know a bit more. I will be blogging that as such. In terms of also blogging everything, I'm thinking for the No Spend May challenge, definitely doing sort of a video kind of explaining the rules of the challenge on here, and then definitely in June kind of doing a sit down talking about kind of how I felt things went. But I'm thinking in terms of, I was wondering whether or not to do some daily reels on what I did or did not spend that day. I'm not gonna lie though, I think it will get very, very boring if it's just me going, I spent nothing, that kind of thing. So what I'm thinking of doing is doing sort of weekly roundups on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube shorts of like how things went. So just collecting a lot of b-roll and doing a bit of a voiceover. Let me know in the comments below which one you guys would prefer, because I'm happy to create the content either way. I just don't think it'd be very interesting if I'm just like, I spent nothing today. So do let me know what you guys are thinking in that sense of like, would you like those kind of checkups weekly to see how things are going, or would you rather just have the monthly roundup and kind of leave it at that? So, things I would recommend for anyone going on a financial journey. I'm going to recommend 3 things because I think they're really, really good like things, and I have found them to be particularly useful and just really helped me in my journey. The first one being my debit account. So I have a few. So me and my husband have a joint account with HSBC, and that is, you know, that's where the money for all the sort of expenses comes out of as such. And by that I mean the ones with direct debits, just because I cannot be asked to move direct debits over, it's too much of a chore. So they all sit there with the direct debit. With that, we both have our own kind of personal accounts that just sit there. Lee uses his, I do not use mine because I actually have a personal account with Chase. So this is my Chase card. I'm not showing off any information because it's all private. And that's one of the benefits with it. So Chase is an online banking account. I believe it comes under the umbrella of JP Morgan, which is one of the big financial institutions in the US. You have an app on your phone, which holds all your card information, has all the kind of stuff on there. The reason why I recommend, and I'm just opening it up now, just so I can talk for you guys through it more. The reason why I really like Chase as the bank account is A, because of the interest rates. So with this bank account, this is where all my smug funds are held, and they have an interest rate of 4.1%. And I haven't seen any sort of traditional UK bank have interest rates like that. If they are, I will let you guys know, but I've not seen anyone hit that mark in terms of the 4.5% interest rates. So I feel really good with having my money in there. Also, I get money into my current account. It has like a 1% interest rate. Doesn't sound a lot, it's literally a couple of pence, but I've yet to again have a traditional UK bank account that's provided me interest on just the money that is sat in my account looking pretty. As such, it does a roundup, so I get like rewards in terms of spending, cash back as such. Now I will admit it did change because I signed up last April when it was an unlimited cash back on spending. From 20th of April I go on to the new one, which means it's capped at 15%, no sorry, £15. If I'm honest though, I've never hit, in terms of cash back, hit that kind of £15 mark, so I'm not losing out on anything, and I still think it's a decent amount. It's called my little rewards count. Currently I have £4.19 in there. A total I've earned is £121 over 12 months, and it's just nice. Whatever I spend, I get a little bit of cash back on. I can balance transfer that into a savings account or my current account. I usually stick it into a savings account because why not? So it's a nice little thing to have on your everyday spending. What I've also set up on here is roundups. So very much traditional to any roundup you would see. If you bought a coffee for £3.50, it would take that 50p, round it up to £4, but instead of putting that money towards what you paid, it'll take that 50p and put it into a savings account. So this savings account's really good because it's a 5% interest rate, so if you just wanted to leave your roundups there, you could do, but I also have it set up that every 90 days it moves it automatically into one of my sinking funds. Currently it's set to the Eras Tour one, but I will probably change that to like the car one or savings ones. Right now I have £5.08 in roundups on there for this month, as it is, and again, it's just an extra way of saving money without you realizing. The pay system is really good. It's so easy. You set up your pays with everything. You click on them, you add the amount. So I directly pay my dog walker, so I just click on the name, put the amount, send it across, which actually reminds me I need to pay her, so I'm going to do that now. You can also schedule them. So that's something I may set up in the future with some more regular ones. It also has a really, which I found really helpful, it has like my direct debits. So one of them being like Waggle, which is my pet insurance. It has it all set out here. It tells me what the payments are, but it also tells me the date that I've paid them on, which really helps me budget, knowing when the money is going out and such. This is probably a little bit of an extra detail that doesn't need to be, everyone needs to know, but for me, and just feeling confident knowing when my money is going, it's a really nice feature to have, to know that like, okay, that money goes out on that month and that money goes out on that month as such. So yeah, I really like it. I really enjoy it. It's really simple to easy to use. It also gives me an opportunity in terms of savings to open a Nutmeg account, which is, I believe, under the Vanguard umbrella of stocks and shares investment. Unfortunately, I do not have the minimum just yet to open up a Nutmeg account, but I will do. That is probably the next saving goal, is to get that there, because I've heard fantastic things about Nutmeg. So that's the ultimate goal in that sense. In fact, pulling out my phone again, the next thing I would recommend is Moneybox, and they recently just updated the app as such. So before you used to just be able to see like all your little accounts coming up. Now they've changed it so I can see the total value of the money that I have held in Moneybox, which I'm not gonna lie, it's a nice amount. It's looking very, very pretty. But that one's really good just because, again, it's that kind of like, I can see it, I can break down every kind of accounts, have a look into it. So the accounts I have currently at the moment, I have quite a few. Some of them don't have anything in, I've just had them open just for the sake of having them. But I have things like my stocks and shares ISA, my lifetime ISA, which is the one that my husband and I are using to put away for house saving. And the good one about this is because my husband has his lifetime ISA or LISA on his Moneybox account, we can see the total amount together as like one whole number, which is a really nice thing to see. I have my personal pension, which is where I've collected all my pensions from previous jobs and just holding them in one place. And then I have things like the reward savers, simple savers, the 120-day notice one and the 30-day notice one. The reason why I like Moneybox for saving stuff, the LISA is the best rate on the market at the moment in terms of interest. It's 3.5%. Interest, so it's the highest one I've seen for a LISA account. It's also really interesting and stuff like that. The stocks and shares ISA one is really simple and easy to understand and use. When you set it up, it will ask kind of where you are in terms of like confidence level of investing. Do you want high risk, low risk, or medium risk? I'm on medium risk at the moment, but you can change it. So you can kind of go into it and break down like the percentage of the money that you put into that account every month or week as to where it will go. It also opens you up to some stocks you can purchase into. So they have Adobe, Alphabet, which is Google, Amazon, Apple, AT&T, Berkshire Hathaway, Coca-Cola, Disney, JP Chase and Co, JP Morgan, MasterCard, etc, etc. So there's a lot of different ones you can invest into, and they're quite nice ones. But in terms of the funds ones as well, the funds are really good. They have the Vanguard, the FTSE 250, the Global Aggregated Bonds one, which is a great one. You know, they also have what are they called? Sorry, like ethical ones. That help invest into like greener energy and stuff like that. So you really get a pick and choice of where you want to go. You can also choose by kind of like category. If you only want to go into socially responsible ones, you can do so. You can only go into emerging markets, regionals. If you only want to invest in bonds, if you only want to invest in tech, you can do. It's really simple and easy to use in terms of that stuff. So from the kind of getting started with investing in stocks and shares, it's a really good one to have, because the stocks and share ISA obviously is part of your ISA allowance, which I believe is up to 20 grand, and it's tax free. And it's just a very simple way of dipping your toe into the investment market having a bit of hand holding and whatnot. Obviously your capital is at risk, as with anything you do with like stocks and shares and whatnot, but it's a really nice gentle hand holding way to do it, and I like it better than the ones I've done like eToro and that in the past. I found them very confusing. This one's really nice and I feel much more confident and secure that my money is safe. The final thing that I'm going to recommend is a book as well as a podcast and just a general personal finance person. So this is Tori Dunlap of The Financial Feminist and The First 100K. This is her book, which I will admit, this is a book that's not been read, but I bought her book on audio through Spotify, and I got through her book within a couple of weeks or so, and it was much better than sitting down trying to read this book, because I'm not gonna lie, my dyslexia was like, we can't do this. But having a chapter play at a time, driving to and from work, I just felt really inspired. I listened to it on the long drives when we were traveling to see family over Christmas and stuff. It felt really good just to have it kind of in the car listening to it. And it was also really nice listening to it with my husband. He was really getting into it and understanding it, because he just listens to me when he talks to personal finance, but it's not his area, it's not his jam. But he did feel a bit more confident when he was listening to this stuff and felt like this. He even said like, it's so nice the way she's breaking everything down and whatnot. Her website's great. I love her podcast, the weekly one. I think she comes out with 2 episodes a week, which is great, and I really enjoy it. There's also Vivian too, who I'll live down below. Her Your Rich BFF is sort of her handle and whatnot. She's brought out a book which I have bought, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna do the same thing and buy the audiobook and listen to that in the car. Maybe I'll treat myself that now, as well as the car wash. I need to add that in. I need to sit down with this and you know, pay the dog walker and go over my finances and whatnot. But no, really good kind of like personal finance person to follow, who's just made me feel so much more confident with my money, and I'm so grateful for her advice, and I'm just really happy that I found her at a time in my life where I needed that help and guidance. Okay, we made it to just before the end of the video, before my battery started flashing, but we're at the end of the video now, and I really do hope you enjoyed this webisode. I'm not gonna lie, I feel very kind of motivated and inspired, just kind of chatting into the void as such. I know I'm talking to you guys, but you know, guys are not answering back to me right now, but it feels really good just to kind of talk through, really have a look through everything, and I'm like, oh god, I feel so much more confident with my money now that I've actually taken a more wider look at everything, and kind of talked through my thinking and whatnot. So I do hope you enjoy these like webisodes of personal finance. I know it's a new thing, normally we're on DIYs and whatnot, but it's just a real big passion of mine to talk more about personal finance, and I'm seeing the industry of content creation change. There's a lot more people, content creators, being open about their finances, and I really hope we continue with this change and drive forward and whatnot. But do let me know in the comments below if you've got any questions or queries or any other recommendations you want from me in terms of personal finance. Let me know in regards to the money challenge how you want to hear content. Let me know if there's just any other general personal finance webisodes you want me to film. I'm always open to kind of talk about my kind of goal. I will eventually get into bigger figures and be totally transparent, but as I kind of said in my last websode, I'm slowly getting there. The fact that I said so much money numbers to you right now is a huge deal, so I really do hope you appreciate me being this open and honest to you. It is currently not even 12 o'clock as I'm filming this, and I have the rest of the day to kind of do stuff, so I'm not gonna lie, I am gonna go off and take the dog for a walk and probably edit this webisode as well as the webisode before this and really get ahead with stuff. Well, it's great and I can't do any other content creation, but again, I really do hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed already. We are growing fast on here, and I am truly grateful for all the support that you guys are giving me. Have a lovely rest of your week. Have a lovely rest of your day. I will see you guys very soon. Bye.